I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome, and welcome back if this isn't your first time in Fight Club. My name is Rob. I'm going to be the host of the third episode of AfterBuzz TV's Homecoming After Show. Thank you guys for joining in. I'm not alone. I have a fantastic, cool, smart co-host. Her name is Kelsey Meyer.
Hi.
How are you doing, Kelsey?
So great. And you guys, I'm in the chat. So if anyone's in there, say hey. I'm checking it out.
Yes, in the chat. If you are in the chat, please participate. Don't just spectate. We want you to be a part of the show. You are a part of the show. You're one of the most important parts of the show. So
That's right.
Please jump in and let us know how you feel. And so one thing I want to get to, if I always say this, if you haven't watched this already and you're watching this show, you're wrong because there's spoilers. But if you have watched the show, most likely you have. If you're watching this, you most likely watch the show. But if you haven't, countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers are a coming. So I have a couple of things, a couple of points that I would like to talk about here with you, Kelsey,
Wow.
just to let everybody know what we're going to be covering. So one thing I have is back in the day. That's our first one. Next one is it was a setup.
Oh,
and the next
I
one
know.
is and the next one is Walter's back.
Thank God. Be still my heart.
Yes, I was thinking about that when he popped up. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, Kelsey's gonna be happy.
That's right.
So, Kelsey, what are your overall thoughts on this episode?
This has been my favorite one so far. I loved last season, and especially the last episode of last season. I actually went back the other day and rewatched like the last couple just to remind myself. And there were so many unanswered questions. I mean, did he remember her? Did that trigger anything? Like, we were left asking for so much more. And so when we started this season without any of those characters, I was a little bit not bummed, but I was like, wait, there's so many questions. So this episode, I loved it.
Yeah, I was a fan of this episode too. Or this episode as well. Episode 2 will confuse people with episode 2. So
that's
episode
true.
as well. A lot of good stuff going in here. A lot of explanation of what happened, how we got to this point, which I was completely there for, and I will be there for the rest of this season. And just overall, this episode, like, I like the fact that we are now getting, like I said, we're digging deep into this.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing what the hell is going on, and now I feel like we're on the cusp of seeing what happened, but that's for the predictions point. I don't want to get onto that yet. We have to wait till the end of the show for that one. So let's talk about back in the day. And the reason why I'm saying back in the day is because, as you can see, Kelsey, there was like a flashback letting us know what was happening before all this crazy stuff started happening. And we get to see, Alex at a real job, and honestly, I was like, okay, is she a counselor? Is she HR?
Right.
But I think it was HR in HR. She's felt like more of a spin artist.
Yes,
and
I thought so too.
I love seeing this. I love seeing her in this role, in this particular scenes, because prior to this, we've seen nothing but, one side of Alex's character, which is the lost, disoriented character who's trying to constantly piece together what the hell is going on. And we see the total opposite of it with this. How do you feel about the whole flashback and, back in the day?
I was looking back at my notes and they say flashback in all capitals, amazing power suit. Love that blue.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God. But honestly, it was a great suit. And I love, like you said, it's like, I love that we get to see Alex in her role and doing what she was doing. And I thought it was interesting. At first I was like, oh my gosh, I was right. She's a therapist. She's a counselor like Julia Roberts was. And then we see that they've spun it for her to be kind of this HR, but like con artist EHR person. So that was, I thought, very interesting. An interesting take on it, but also kind of paralleled nicely with Julia Roberts' character, because it's like they both are, they seem to be doing something good and helpful, but like it's really not. You
Right.
know, I kind of thought that that was interesting, but yeah, I loved it. It was interesting that she threw away the picture. That at first I was like, wait, what? And then when you get the phone call, you understand why she threw it away. Um, Love the suit, Janelle Monáe. Where'd you get that? That was a great suit. But
I
no, I
love
was excited.
I love the suit too a lot. Really stylish. Um, so there's another thing I want to talk about within the scene because seeing the job that she's doing, I don't, it's HR, some kind of HR person,
Mhm.
but really I saw like a spin
Yeah,
artist there
yeah,
because it seems like that's what she was doing. She was there negotiating, talking
yep,
the girl down to get her out of going to court, to
right,
spin it in a new way and like, hey, it's happened to me too. And I went to
right.
India and found myself and
So
like
messed up.
yeah, and I'm not
Yeah,
at liberty to say this because I'm not a woman, but if I were a woman, I would say that you looking bad for the cause, really bad. You're
yes,
talking
girl.
a woman out of going to pursue, you know, the
Yeah,
people that did bad to her. No,
yeah,
you got to pursue that stuff. But at the
yeah. That
same
was
time,
nasty. Yeah,
yeah, and it's funny because you get to see her doing this, and then in another scene, you get to see her. I'm presumably it's her wife.
mhm.
Audrey is maybe her wife or partner. She's kind of doing the same thing too. Her job
Right,
is kind of a
right.
spin doctor,
Well, and
cleanup artist.
she kind of orchestrates the whole thing, really.
Yes, that's another.
Alex's
Ooh,
character. Yeah,
yeah, that's another thing we want to talk about in this.
yeah.
That's the next point to set up. But another thing we missed, another thing that I saw that I'm pretty sure you saw too. Everybody, it was there for everybody to see, but the whole cat food or the cat litter thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because like how now I want to know, like now this is making me think, how many days has passed since this happened?
I feel like just one.
Hmm.
That's what I got from that. That made me think yeah, that made me think one, that it was like that day prior, which is so weird,
Right.
but I don't
Huh.
know.
Yeah, that's yeah, I don't know. That confused me too. I was just thinking, okay, like now, when it confused me, it made me think of like how many days has passed.
Right.
And yeah, and then based off of the clues from the last episode with all the, memory medicine, I'm really starting to think, what I was saying previously.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I agree with you now.
well, there's so one more thing before we move on to the setup. Um, Janelle, or excuse me, not Janelle. And this is outside of the movie. I mean, the television show itself. But I know I was talking last episode about Janelle Monae's acting chops,
Mhm.
and we get to see him here on full on display because she's a completely, totally different person. Her whole
Yep.
mannerism, the way she
Yep.
walks and carries herself is completely different. And I'm loving seeing this range of acting from Janelle
Yeah,
Monae.
she's killing it.
What were you thinking about that? Because I saw two different people.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's a flashback and it was like, yeah, a clear flashback. There was no like inclination that she didn't know what the heck she was doing. Yeah, she's killing it. She's doing awesome.
Yeah, that's really, really good stuff.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
here for you, Janelle Monáe. Yes.
yes, we definitely are. So let's talk about one more thing before we get to the setup, because
Mhm.
as we're seeing Alex's ordinary life prior to all this craziness, we get to see Audrey's ordinary life
Right.
prior to this. And so there was a couple things that happened in the scene. One thing I definitely want to get your opinion on,
Mhm.
Kelsey. Um, but you get to see, I like this scene in particular because you get to see this person who prior to this, you see her in somewhat of a position of power, Audrey. But now you see her in the total opposite of that. And the front desk person answering the phones and trying to get
Yeah.
her foot in that boardroom.
Yeah.
And you get to see her with her douchebag superior. I don't know who that
Yeah.
guy was, but he was
Me
definitely
neither.
like D-bag. And then the other
Yeah.
D-bag that came walking down the hallway. When I saw him walking, I was like, this dude's a D-bag.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
soon as he started talking, I was like,
He
oh yeah, he
was. He
definitely
was.
is a D-bag.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
we
the
could
woman kind of was too, which was so sad.
that's the question. That's the
Yes.
next
Okay.
point I want to talk to you
Okay.
about. Well, part two of this point. So part one of this point is how do you feel about seeing Audrey operate in this boys' world and try to get her foot in the door and being dismissed? How do you feel about that?
Well, it was interesting because I know we got like a slight glimpse of that in the last season. So it was interesting for them to give us like that full flashback, the full picture, because in the second episode, she seems like in such more position of power, and we left with her like maybe like taking on that position of power, but it was nice to get the flashback because it just, I don't know, it added more to her as a person. It gave her more depth as a character. And I was like, I mean, you root for her a little bit more, right? Because these guys suck. And
Yes.
yeah, it's such a boys club. And she was getting dismissed right and left, and they were all D-bags. So yeah, it made me root for her a lot more. And I was like, get it, girl.
Yes, I'm with you. I was even happier um, when I found out how everything transpired. After seeing
Yes.
that scene, I was like, yes,
Yes.
I'm good. And I
Exactly.
hope there's a point. I hope they bring those two characters back and she gets some kind of revenge or get a chance to be dismissive towards them. Because I feel that would be, you have to do that. I mean, I would do
Yeah.
it if I wrote it that way, which
Yeah.
that's just a sin what I just did saying that words if I wrote it.
Yeah.
You guys who wrote this did it perfectly. You got a plan in place, and I don't want to criticize that. But let's talk about one last thing before we move on to the setup. This lady that was not good at all. Like she dismissed her too,
Nasty.
but in a more subtle and more coddling way. So in my opinion, like she's coming
Yeah.
to her with ideas and well, maybe it's best if you don't come in because I don't know how they're gonna react. No, let's go in here together and see how they're
Yeah.
gonna react. What do you mean? They're gonna react either way. If you did it, they would react. But you're not seeing
Right.
that because it just for me, it seems like she's one of those people, in a room who get comfortable with their own position. Like I have my position, I worked hard to get here.
Mhm.
I don't want to
Mhm.
bring another person in that's like me because they could be competition, they could be taking my
Right.
job, and I'm not trying to go to answering phones. But
Right.
what do you think about that, Kelsey? You're a woman. You're the woman here. You tell me what you think about
Right.
all.
Well, it's funny because I feel like at first I was annoyed and pissed because I was like, come on, have her back. And then I was like, well, especially when she made the comment, yeah, well, keep giving me ideas. So I was like, okay, she's bringing her ideas, she's bringing Audrey's ideas into these meetings and pitching them herself.
Mhm.
But then, like, third, I was like, okay, I have to have a little bit of empathy for the women, even though I wish that they would help each other out. It's like I understand a little bit more where she's coming from because, like you said, she's probably, I mean, it was probably hard for her to get her foot in that door. And if she were to bring Audrey in, then she would get ridiculed and like shit on by this boys club,
Mhm.
and like it would hit her down a few pegs too. So I was somewhat empathetic after I was like, ew, come on, girl, like be her friend. Um,
Yes.
But still, I mean, still, I think that that was kinda nasty, and that was my, yeah, initial thought was, "Oh, she's taking all her ideas and running with them as her own."
That's what I thought too. I thought she was
Yeah,
taking the ideas because
yeah.
it's completely scummy of her, in my opinion, to say, you know what, we don't want you to go in because it may cause a problem. Just keep giving me those
I'll
ideas,
do it,
girl.
I'll do
And
it,
then you
yeah.
throw the girl in like, no, don't throw the girl in like we're cool.
No,
Like
we're
you have
not
my best
homies.
interest.
Yeah.
You don't
No.
have my best interest. I don't know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be getting this mad about it. I should be sitting back watching. You should be the one so pissed off about it. But I'm like, why would you
No,
do
I
that?
love that you're pissed about it too.
But
Yeah, it's just it was annoying, but I thought it added, I mean, it definitely added to the scene, and just, like, this whole work culture is nasty
yeah,
sort of vibe. Like, not, it's, like, not even the other women have my back. They're taking my ideas.
yeah.
So, I mean, good writing on that part.
And I've actually seen, and you've seen, of course,
Oh
you've seen it in
god.
real life. I've
Yeah.
seen it in real life, just watching back, like, damn, y'all are
Yeah,
some
and
hateful
throwing in the
girls. What are you?
girls, like,
This is
"Girl, oh,
mean girls.
we're sisters," and it's like, "Oh, you just go behind my back and," yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Oof.
Sisters that I would stab in the back with the first opportunity.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I feel
so
like that's changing, so that's good, our generation, but, yeah, yeah,
one show at a time, right?
yeah, exactly,
um,
exactly.
well, there's one more thing I want to get to before we move over to the second point, which is the setup, because this is a very important part that comes in after this. Pam.
Yes.
Do you remember a Pam from season one? I don't
Mm,
remember a Pam.
mm-mm,
Okay,
mm-mm.
so someone named Pam calls Audrey or calls Geist.
Yes,
Geist.
yes, I do.
Oh, you
Yes, I
remember
do.
Pam?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I don't
Yes.
remember. I need to go back and look at that. I don't remember Pam.
She was I didn't recognize her name when you said it. I was like, what? But then when you said she called, I was like, oh yeah, she was the boss of the guy who was investigating the whole homecoming case. And she kept dismissing him. And the scene where he thinks that Julia Roberts is going to the old homecoming facilities, and he follows her and he calls her because she's like, where are you? What are you doing? You're supposed to be at a desk, right? You either elevate the claim or
Oh,
you say
okay.
no. And he's like, no, like I think she's here and she wrote her off. Or I'm sorry, she wrote him off and he hung up on her. So then that final
Oh,
scene was him telling her um that he found all this evidence, blah blah blah. And she was like, okay, thank you. He leaves, she calls and she's like, this is urgent. And
okay.
that was where they took off, which I was like, oh yeah, this bitch,
Okay.
what? Yeah,
See, I knew I should have rewatched right before I started this one, but
yeah. It was a
yeah,
while ago, I know.
Pam slipped my mind. Okay, well, Pam calls Geist, and
That was kind of crazy.
Audrey picks up, and she tells her like, "Hey, the DOD is doing an investigation. You need to get a lawyer, and then never call me again."
So Pam's shady too.
Yeah, Pam had. I mean, but when the government is coming, I
But
don't
Pam was
authorize
the
being shady.
government.
Yes, this is true. But Pam could be on the chopping block too,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you
because
got to
remember,
rewatch those last ones and tell me because she was also very dismissive and mean about the guy who was doing the whole investigation. And I felt so badly for him.
hmm. Well, if Pam is telling her the government's doing an investigation and to lose my number, that means they're coming after Pam too. Pam's trying to save her own skin.
True. True.
There has to be some kind of skin in the game.
Yeah.
But this is very important because it paves the way for our next point. But we're
Right.
going to get to that in just a second. I just want to take a time out to thank all of the people who watch our show and or listen to it week in, week out, different shows. Thank you so much. You guys, your support it continues to make us the ESPN of TV Talk, and we appreciate all of you guys. And you guys in the chat, we appreciate you as well.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
and also, so Kelsey will be on the chat, guys. So if you have any comments, concerns, any predictions, anything you want to say, please say it. Kelsey will definitely let us know here,
That's
and we
right.
will make it known. We will let it be known for everyone
Woo.
who's listening that you're a part of it. But thank you once again, and always like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends and family about it. And most importantly, watch Homecoming and watch this after show. Thank you again.
Mhm.
So the next point we want to move to the setup, and this is why Pam calling Geist and excuse me, her name Audrey leaves me for some
Audrey. Yeah,
reason.
yeah, yeah.
Audrey answering it
Which
is
they
so
call
important.
Temple. Apparently, I guess her last name's Temple.
Temple, okay, that's right.
Mhm.
AT&T, which is
Yeah.
another dude. Yeah, that was dude.
Yeah, he
I don't
says
want to get
Temple.
a. Yeah, he's a dude.
I know.
But yeah, this prompts
With the
Audrey.
billboard. Sorry, I keep
Yes,
interrupting you.
with the
But
billboard
yes,
that we saw that you
yes,
mentioned last
yes.
episode, which I
Yeah.
thought was a crappy idea. Get over what? You have no context.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah.
with Pam calling, this prompts Audrey to go home, and she has a conversation about it, and
Mhm.
what makes Alex want to join in and help her because number one, she's her partner, you know.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I take it that she loves this woman and has been with her presumably a while because they have a home together.
Right.
But she sees her putting on the memory medicine, and that sparks, okay, like how can I help? And then they start concocting this plan, which is a really devious plan. It works, and I had a feeling it was going to work when they were given it because of the type of person who they were doing it to. You know,
Mhm.
Bobby Carnival's character, which he made
He
his
did. I was so
reappearance.
happy.
Yes, I thought about you when that happened too, Kelsey. But I figured that it was going to work because of the type of character that he
Right.
is,
That
and we
Colin
see,
is. Yeah.
yeah, he's a
Yeah.
very misogynistic, I talk, you listen, you talk, I don't listen, I catch every third
Right.
word kind of guy. So
And
for
same with his boss.
yes,
Yeah.
which was yeah, and what was his name? The boss,
Ron, I think, is
Ron.
in.
That's right. I have it
Yeah.
written down here.
Yeah.
Ron. But for that plan to work and just for Alex to coach her like this and get her going, because you get to see the fruits of Alex's job paying off, because Alex's job is to teach, is to coach people and help spin. And now
Right.
she's doing it with her wife and or girlfriend, fiance, partner, what have you.
Right.
What did you think about this whole setup, Kelsey?
Ooh, it was devious. But like I said, I think that they wrote it well, and kind of this episode played out well because you did have more empathy for Temple, Audrey, going about this, because these guys are such asses, and
Yes.
from season 1 how much of a dick what's his butt Bobby's character is.
Yes.
So you're just like, oh, dang, this is wild. Like, good for you, sister. I mean, I couldn't believe she went through it. But then also, Janelle Monáe makes a good point. I keep calling them by their normal names. Alex
Alex.
makes the point to Temple, like, you're there because you're invested in this company. So she's not all like squeaky clean, right? Temple's
Mhm.
not all squeaky clean. So Alex coming up with this plan that, like, Temple's like, "Man, this just might work." She's scared, but she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So, I mean, everyone in this company is a little bit dirty, right?
Right.
But
Well, let me
it was
ask you
clever.
something else. Let me ask you something else, Kelsey. They're in the same particular scene before because they're in the house and they're going over everything.
Right.
There's a kissing scene between them, but before they kiss, there's a moment
Yeah.
where I guess she like bit Alex on the lip. Audrey bit Alex on the lip,
I
and she
think
was
she hit her
bleeding.
in the head
Hit her in the head.
accidentally. She, like, went in too fast and knocked her lip, and it started bleeding.
Okay, my question for you is, do you think something else is going to come out of that? Because we spent a lot of time on that particular part with the bleeding part.
I think the point of the bleeding part was, remember in the first episode where her friend is asking if she remembers anything even before the boat, and she said she remembered little red towels, and she said, but they're special towels.
Oh,
Yeah, so she said they're special towels, and he was like, "Oh, like, only used for, like, fancy occasions," and she was like, "Yeah, I guess." So then when this scene, when she bashed her in the lip, she went and got one of those red towels,
yeah.
and so she made some comment about it. So that's why I think that they lingered on that scene.
Okay, okay. Because
But it was a weird scene. I was like,
yeah,
"What?"
and I'm over here like with the conspiracy theory chart in my mind with red strings going to different pictures and stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that I don't know that the whole thing with the lip, they stayed there a lot. And I know they talked about the towels, but I'm wondering,
Yeah,
is something else gonna come from that? Because that was
right.
just okay. That's such a you know what I'm saying? That's such a random thing to happen
Yeah.
in the script, in this
I was like,
show.
I don't know. My only thing is that the only other thing I thought was like, oh, she put something on her mouth. Maybe she ingested some of that stuff.
Yes, there we go. That's
Yeah.
I was okay. I was
Yeah.
thinking something like that too. It's also the same color, the
Right.
liquid.
Right.
Um,
Maybe
mm,
that's why they're special towels.
I don't know. I
Whoa.
think we're just grasping at
Whoa.
straws here, but
Yeah.
I'm
But
just looking at I don't know the themes,
uh
the colors, and like yeah.
interesting. Yeah. I didn't think
Well,
about that.
I'm gonna circle that real quick. Red
Yes.
towel because I don't know that could come back. That could definitely come back.
And especially because she mentioned it first episode. I feel like that's gonna
Yeah.
have to keep. Yeah.
So the whole another thing with the setup because the setup is two parts. So we have the planning and then we have the execution. So and we with the execution of everything, we see Audrey go into the office and set up this meeting, and they took the same exact scene from the last episode, this season 1 finale, and they play
Hmm.
it there. But
Yep.
one thing they add is that they add her setting up the conference room
Yeah.
prior. Because
Yeah.
in the season 1 finale, we didn't see that. We just see her sitting
Right.
there at the table. Oh, Ron's not coming. Here's your confession. And now we see her
Yeah.
setting these up and using these things, the information that he gives her, and just setting him up with it and gives him the confession. Um, what are your thoughts on executing the confession part?
I mean, for being nervous, she claims, She killed it. I was like, "Dang." And then at first I was honestly the only thing I was thinking that whole scene was, "Man, are they just using old clips or are we really gonna get more Bobby?" I was like, "Oh," but then we did, so that was exciting. But I just loved I was so pumped the last part of this episode getting all of the little, like, tidbits of, "Oh, this is how this fit in. Oh, this is how this fit," like, because you don't I mean, there are all so many like, there's so many unanswered questions. Like, that was weird. That was weird to all the viewers being like, "Wait, how did she end up in those shoes?" So, I loved it. I loved how they're showing, like, every little bit. I mean, even down to her setting up the conference room, sending the email to him.
Hmm.
Ooh, it's good.
Yeah, it was like a 13-step plan to get this,
Yeah,
and it happened. Like everything was by the
yeah,
numbers. And Audrey's lucky to have a woman like Alex because Alex is the master spin artist.
right,
She's
right.
good at this. And so let's talk about because the execution, we still have one more part to talk about, is that when it's brought to the attention of Leonard,
Mhm,
Geist, excuse me, Leonard Geist, Ben, or not Ben, Clint, Colin, and Ron go into the office, the big
right.
boss's office, and this is all brought to the big boss Leonard's attention right there. He knew
Yeah.
nothing of this prior to that, and
That was mind-blowing.
yes, so and he ultimately like walk us through what you saw with Leonard, because I want to go and say it, but I'll let you say it because.
I stand for like, I said it last episode, I was like, "I love Leonard. I want more Leonard." Leonard is just here. He doesn't know what's going on. He's just here for his plans, and I love it. She walks in, he's FaceTiming this chick. He's coming up with new solutions, like, for his plans, right, whatever. Then it all blah, unravels, and yeah, Leonard doesn't even know what homecoming is. Like,
Hmm.
he has 0 idea. So that part blew my mind because you have Ron, who we met in I'm sorry, in season 1, who's just an ass, and he's that whole scene where he's, like, cutting the chicken's head off, and he's telling Colin that he just kind of better show up and, like, he's his killer and that whole thing. So that was clearly all for Ron's benefit, right? But that I mean, and then it's just crazy, and then Leonard makes, or, like, gets tries to get pull all this information out of Colin, and Colin's trying to, like, kinda beat around the bush and do this, like, tiptoe around it. He's like, "So just say it. So, yeah, you did this, you did that," and, I mean, we end with them both getting fired, which I was like, "Thank God he fired not just Colin, but he also fired freaking Ron because Ron sucks." And then he promoted Audrey, and he's like, "Well," and they make the comment, "She's just the front desk, the receptionist chick." And he's like, "You know what? I put you 2 bozos, like, in charge, and so she couldn't do worse than you." And I was like, "Okay, weird backhanded
Yes,
compliment, but,
very
like,
yes, backhanded.
okay." But also, heck yeah, girl, get it.
Yes,
That
and
was
that's good.
crazy.
That whole scene was good. I'm glad that there was some
Yeah,
fire. And I'm glad that all this stuff was happening, and Leonard didn't know this, and he fired these
yeah,
guys right on the spot, and then promoted the front desk girl to their position.
yeah.
One thing I thought about that when that happened is that, okay, yes, a backhanded comment, but this is the completion of Alex and Audrey manipulating the boys club system in their
Yes.
favor, because
Yes.
when the top boys don't perform, they're going to go and get somebody else to fill their position.
Some other
Yeah,
boy, yeah.
yeah, but they didn't have another boy. They had a lady who knew
Mhm.
the ins and out of this, and now she's the new boss.
Yeah,
And I'm happy that it worked. I'm happy that it was executed to standard. But
yeah.
let's move on to the next topic, which is it's a short topic, but it's a powerful topic.
Mhm.
Walter is back. So
Yeah.
Walter came back, um, and we learned some things about Walter. Number
Mhm.
one, we know Walter has like he suffers a flashback, a war
Mhm.
flashback while he's driving, gets into an accident,
Mhm.
goes to the hospital, and tells the doctor about a surgery he had with his brain injury, and the doctor doesn't see it.
Yeah.
And then we end with Walter going into his house, shaving off the back of his head, and looking for
Looking for a
the
scar.
scar,
Yeah.
and didn't find it. what are your thoughts on Walter coming back, Kelsey?
God, I loved it. I loved it because I mean, I liked season 1 so much. I literally was like reading all these blogs about people being like, "Oh, does he remember her? Did it trigger him? Blah 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 blah." Right? And
Mhm.
you know that like seeing Heidi had to have triggered something. They had like such a serious relationship, and for him, she was kind of all that place was. It was like she and the war kind of fit together, right? So
Mhm.
that was kind of crazy. I liked how they did that. I liked that he had the flashbacks. I thought it was clever that he said that his mom told him, because obviously, I mean, his mom wanted to cover up, and his mom was like, "You don't remember any of that? Good. Like, keep
Mhm.
it that way. I'm going to tell you had a brain trauma and had to get surgery." It was clever. I thought how they unpacked it all, and how yeah, we just end with him pacing because he's like, "Shit, I can't find this scar,"
Yes.
and we're like, "Yes, there is no scar." So now I'm like, we're not gonna see Heidi again, but I wonder how that's going to unravel. I feel like, well, now I'm getting into predictions, but yeah, it was crazy. It was a good scene.
Yes, I'm glad that that happened because now we get a little bit more insight on the program in general. Because
Mhm.
remember, Ron and Colin had just got fired for giving these soldiers this medicine without their knowledge, putting it in their food, and
Right.
causing problems. And now we have a lawsuit from the DOD over it. So to see Walter come back and figure out, what's happening with him and start questioning himself is very good because now we know we got some stuff for Walter later on in the
Mhm.
future. We know
Which
that
is
he's going
very
to be
exciting.
making his way back. And I'm so happy for you,
Me
Kelsey,
too.
because
Stefan James.
there's going to be a bunch of drool everywhere
Ooh, ooh,
from
ooh.
you. But yeah, so there's one more thing. Well, there's actually two more things we need to get into before we have to leave. So let's go ahead and talk about our favorite moment, or excuse me, our
Yes.
special segment, which is I'll let
Our
you bring it
bring it
on home.
home, our bring it home homecoming moment. So yeah, Rob, give me your favorite little moment in this episode.
Okay, my bring it home moment is the moment where Colin and Ben, yeah, Colin and yeah, Ben got
Ron,
fired. Ron, Colin and Ron got fired. I don't know why I want to call him Ben. He looks like a Ben,
he looks
but
like a bed.
Colin and Ron got fired for giving soldiers medicine without their knowledge and erasing their memories. And then Audrey gets her old job's old boss's position. If that isn't like the American dream, I don't know what is. To have a douchey boss and he get fired and you get his job, man, I would stay at that job for the rest of my life if that happened to me. But Kelsey, what is your
Ooh.
bring it home moment?
When we flashed to Walter, I was so happy. It was like this
When we
this
flashed to
episode,
Walter.
I got everything. I got when we got some more Bobby Cannavale, when we got some Stefan James, I was like, yes. I like I said, this episode was great because I liked putting the pieces together from the finals or from the last season. I am so happy they did that. So everything was great. I loved it.
Well, this is your favorite episode. And we should start going into predictions next. I predict that this
Yes.
is not going to be your favorite episode by the
Mm,
end of the season. But what are your
probably not.
predictions? What are your predictions for upcoming episodes after seeing this?
Oof. I was gonna say something earlier and I forget. I was like, oh, I'm getting into predictions. I forget what I was gonna say then. But
Mm,
I don't know. There's something about Alex's and Temple's relationship that to me is like slightly off. I don't like they have a house together, but I don't think for some reason I don't think they're married. I think that they're almost like newly together because even like what we talked about in the beginning with no one knows her and no one recognizes her. I mean, maybe now we've seen that she's not friends with anyone in her company. But I don't know, that lip scene, I'm the same as you. That lip scene caught me and I thought that A, they lingered on that for too long. B, it was too awkward for them to be like married. So, anyways, I feel like there's more backstory with the two of them that we're gonna get into. Um, gosh, I want to say that, like you said, the two bozos are gonna come back and she's gonna have her like aha moment. But I also, my last prediction is that she's gonna get too like too into it. Her head's gonna get a little bit too big, and something's gonna happen where Audrey slash Temple kind of like explodes and does something like way like goes completely out of line, and Leonard is pissed.
Hmm. Well, to piggyback off of what you said a little bit, and I've always felt this way, if you go to your significant other's job and nobody knows you, you're a side piece.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
True.
You're a side piece if no one knows you at the job. But yeah, as far as my predictions for the rest of the season, I think Walter's going to cause some issues. Like, I think there's going to be some. We already saw him in past episodes where he's
Oh yeah,
capable of
Walter.
violence.
Yeah.
We're
Duh.
going to see some. I think we're going to see some violence for him because now he's
I
starting
think he's
to
gonna
figure
get
out.
pissed at his mom.
Yes, it's going to start with the
Yeah.
mom. It's going to go to
Yeah.
the whole Geist industry, and then we're going to see what it's going to be bedlam from there. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I think with Alex's character, I think we're gonna find out, or Alex is gonna find out that Audrey was somehow involved in her
Yeah.
memory loss,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be that's gonna be something harsh to deal with
Right.
for the characters. And I think Leonard is going to do something to screw the company over as far as like
I love
what they're
Leonard.
doing in profits and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and the whole lawsuit thing. I think he's gonna have to do something to screw them over to save his own skin. And
Yeah.
that's just what I think.
Yeah. I
For
agree.
my
I think this
prediction.
next episode we're definitely gonna get Walter and his mom and their
Mm.
battle royale.
Well, I'm for it, and I know you for it because you love this guy. So
I do. I do.
So we are out of time, but we're gonna have to go. But in the meantime, in
It was
between
so
time,
fun.
Kelsey, where can they find you?
Everyone can find me Instagram, Twitter, all the things at Kels, so Kels, and then Meyer, Meyer, and the number 2.
Yes, and you can find me on Instagram, and that's at Rob Stilo. That's ROBSTEELO. Please invade my DMs if you have any questions, comments, concerns,
Yes.
or tea about Homecoming.
And jump on
And
the chat.
yes, please jump in the chat. Thank you to all those who are in the chat, and thank you for those who watching us. And I'm happy that I'm here with you. Great group of people, great group of fans. And you too, Kelsey. You're
I'm happy
a
I'm
cool
here with you,
co-host.
Rob.
But guys, we are out of here. Thank you for tuning in, and we will buzz you all later.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.